Your self-doubt smells delicious to the narcissist. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Certain people prove to be much more attractive targets to the narcissist. I write about this in my book Sitting Target, which you can find on Amazon or in the Knowledge Vault, link in the video description. Certain individuals present themselves as more attractive targets for a variety of reasons, and one aspect, one factor, albeit a sizable one, in relation to the presentation of that potential target is the capacity for self-doubt. Normals, the largest group on the planet, invariably can also be ensnared by a narcissist, but, to put it bluntly, they don't tend to suffer their shit for long. They might, for instance, at an early juncture, think that the narcissist, although they may not realize that's what it is, but they will recognize in the seduction stage that it's too much, it's smothering, it's over the top, and they'll back off. Not because they thought, this person is a narcissist trying to ensnare me, but they simply identify that the behaviours are potentially problematic, are proving distasteful to them, and they don't feel any compulsion to remain interacting with this individual. They don't make allowances for them. They don't think that they've perhaps contributed to the issue. They basically think, no, this isn't for me, and they walk. Where there are those normals which have become ensnared, when the sustained devaluation occurs in relation to the dynamic between narcissist and intimate partner primary source, in those circumstances, they invariably walk away much sooner, because again, their reaction is, I'm not putting up with being treated this way. This person's being a complete arsehole to me. I'm better than that. Fuck them. And thus, they walk away. It might be that later on they realise that they had been ensnared by a narcissist, but often they do not, because they walk away from the relationship and move on and ensure that they don't bother with that person ever again. Even where they might be hoovered, they are not drawn back in. Even where narcissist attempts to resurrect the relationship, they tell them no and cut them off. They don't feel any regret for their actions, any lament for what has been done. They don't sit and scrutinise their own behaviour and think, did I play a part in all of this? Perhaps I'm culpable in some way. But the empathic victim invariably experiences self-doubt. Was I at fault? Did I not love them enough? Maybe I said something wrong. If only I had tried harder to make things work. If only I hadn't said what I had said. If only I'd shown more affection. If only I'd stayed at home more often rather than going out. There's a multiplicity of laments and regrets that the victim engages in, plagued by their self-doubt. This self-doubt is extremely useful to our kind because it means that you're easier to control. Because you believe that you may be at fault. Because you scrutinise your own actions and believe that you perhaps have done something to cause the problem rather than the other person, the narcissist. This means that not only are you easier to ensnare, you're easier to keep ensnared. To the narcissist, your self-doubt is important. Our manipulations are inherently designed to exploit your self-doubt and to exacerbate it, so that you remain in situ, that you don't try to escape, and if you do, that you come back again, feeling bad for what you've done, that you consider your own actions and think perhaps you are the problem. Thus, you give a pass to the narcissist. You give the narcissist another chance. You give the narcissist another opportunity. That when red flags present, you fail to see them because you wonder, am I the problem? Have I somehow made him angry? Maybe it's what I've done that causes him to erupt in the way that he does. Maybe if I listened more, she wouldn't kick off with me. I can kind of see what she's driving at. Maybe I need to change my behaviours. This capacity for self-doubt is found in all empaths. With some, it's fairly minuscule, but in many, it's sizable. And the narcissist sniffs this out. As part of our uncanny ability to detect our victims, your self-doubt gives off a signature that calls out to the narcissist like a delicious scent that we sniff and then home in on. Recognizing that a potential target suffers from this self-doubt proves a great attractor to the narcissist. And I'll provide you with an example of an instance where there are a multiplicity of red flags fluttering in the breeze that the individual fails to recognize and has submitted a post to a Reddit subthread asking, "Am I the arsehole?" You're probably familiar with these threads where various people query whether their activity makes them the arsehole, and they ask for other individuals to pass judgment. Here, an individual has written in querying whether she is the arsehole, thus demonstrating that she is plagued by self-doubt. And as I read through what she has written, you will not only see that self-doubt looming large, but you will also notice, because you are now accomplished in understanding about narcissism, the various red flags that present time and time again, and how she doesn't see it because of her self-doubt, which makes her all the more of a tempting victim. The individual writes, "This is a throwaway account, since he demands to know all of my social media handles. Sense of entitlement, intrusiveness, lack of boundary recognition, assertion of control. And sorry for all the grammatical errors, since English is not my first language. I'm a 27-year-old female and have been married to Ben, not his real name, who's aged 40, for about 4 years." The individual later goes on to explain in a reply to a question that they met at work, lack of boundary recognition. He was 35 and she was 21. So there was quite an age gap between them, and likely to be a power imbalance between the two of them, which again is a red flag. They'd been married for about 4 years. She was an intern in the company that he worked at. Accordingly, he was a full-time employee, senior to her, older than her. She was an intern, and in the circumstances, there is a clear power imbalance which he has abused for the purposes of drawing her in. They started dating a few months after she joined the company. "After we got married," she writes, "we decided it would be better for me to stay at home, to take better care of the house and our future children. Now, whilst it is the case in certain relationships that a decision is made that one person will be the breadwinner and the other will be the homemaker and child rearer, here, alongside the other red flags, that is demonstrative of another red flag by wanting to keep her at home. It's presented as a joint decision, but noting the dynamic between these two individuals, it will not have been. It will have been his suggestion, his instruction, and she's gone along with it. Since the beginning, his mother, Diana, age 67, has had it in for me. She's very overly protective of my husband, since her husband and Ben's father died when he was little, potential lack of control environment, so they grew close, lack of boundary recognition between mother and son. She has always accused me of being unfaithful, false accusations, lackluster in household chores, belittlement, and not enough for Ben on numerous occasions. Belittlement, but this time was the worst. What's also evident is that her husband does not defend her as against these accusations and allegations, which shows a lack of support and an absence of emotional empathy, and the fact that he is content for his mother to issue false allegations against his wife. The commentator states, "One of my best friends, Kevin, age 31, was finally able to win an important award in his work field, which would open many doors professionally for him. To celebrate that achievement, I posted a picture of us on my Instagram page with the caption being, "So very proud of you." I often post things for my friends when occasions like birthdays, awards, important life events happen, something I do a lot, and my husband has never expressed any concern previously about this. When we had a gathering at mine, my husband's side of the family, after a few minutes, his mother showed him my Instagram page and said, "How can you possibly allow your wife to cheat on you?" False accusation. "Isn't enough how she treats you?" He went silent. Note, he doesn't dismiss the allegation. He doesn't defend his wife. I confronted her. She answered that Kevin's arm was around my shoulder on the picture, which allegedly was a sign of affection. I tried to interrupt what she was saying and explain it all, but she didn't listen. Poor listener, and instead started to berate other aspects of myself, focusing on my insecurities. I then yelled at her that she was insufferable and meddled in other people's lives, and to leave, which she did afterwards. After it was all said and done, my husband was very angry at me, and told me his mother was an elderly lady, and I should have been patient with her, and now I had humiliated myself, him, and his mother in front of everyone. Blame shifting, lack of support, false accusation, absence of emotional empathy, nullification of threat to control. I've gotten a few angry calls from my sister-in-law and brother-in-law, as well as from his mother. My husband has been very cold towards me since. Am I the arsehole? Well, quite clearly she's not, but you'll notice the self-doubt here, that she queries whether she is the arsehole. And the fact is, there are red flags appearing time and time again. First of all, it's quite evident that her husband is a predator. He groomed her at work. There was a power imbalance. That he ensnared her and then caused her to stay at home because she's easier to control. He offers no emotional support to her. He allows his mother to treat her in that fashion without providing her with any support. He's taken complete advantage of her by virtue of her inexperience and naivety. And as a consequence of this, it's quite clear that the husband operates as a narcissist, and it's clear also where that comes from in relation to his mother. But you notice numerous red flags have popped up in relation to this relationship, and the person posting about it doesn't see it. Instead, she's plagued by her self-doubt. Although she fought back against the mother, and she received no support from her husband, she is still left wondering, am I the one that has caused the problem? She hasn't left the husband, despite the fact that he's clearly problematic, and I suspect that there will be a lot more that she has not yet revealed about his behaviours towards her. That she's looking to resolve the situation, that empathic trait of the desire to fix and to heal. That she's remained in situ. And rather than recognising, I'm dealing with a narcissist, I'm dealing with somebody that's causing problems for me and is abusive, and extended members of the family are also abusive, I need to get out, she's left wondering, am I the arsehole? Demonstrative, of course, of how that self-doubt, generated by the addiction to the narcissist, keeps people locked in the abusive dynamic by repeatedly questioning their own behaviours rather than seeing those red flags which